If you haven't seen part 1 of Jehovah's Witnesses and the Mob, there's a link down in the description. But here's a quick recap of what you missed. So far we've covered the difference between being connected and made, unbaptized versus baptized, our goals as children to live what we've learned, the importance of having spiritual goals, and those that we look up to in the congregation. We covered threats, pride, fear versus respect, the sister's role in the congregation, of course, a little bit about gossip, and finally, the way the congregation or organization appears on the outside versus what's really going on the inside. Now that you're all caught up, let's get going with part 2. Do they intimidate? My vote is obviously yes, but I don't think they do it quite as well as Tommy DeVito.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Yeah, Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you're funny.
You mean,
So?
well, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you?
Oh yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses intimidate. And I hate to beat a dead horse, but join our club or you die. Anybody who's not a Jehovah's Witness will die in Armageddon. Follow our rules or we shun you. There's a lot of intimidation. Not quite as obvious as what we might see in the movies. But my elders, for instance, in my congregation, there was a few that I was very close to and that I absolutely loved and I did trust. And I felt as like father figures that they did have my best interest at heart, but I also knew that they had absolute power over me. I knew that they were fatherly and loving as long as I walked the line, but if I had to go into that back room with them, if I didn't follow them precisely, they had absolute power over me.
When Sonny looked at me for the first time, I went deaf. I couldn't hear. All I could see was Sonny with the gun in his hand.
It's as scary as a parent waving a belt in front of your face. That fear is still there. You know their decisions, their choices, uneducated decisions. Your life is essentially in their hands, and there is absolutely intimidation inside of the organization. And it all starts with the governing body. The elders have to follow the instruction that they're given from the governing body. It doesn't matter if they agree or disagree with it. Once that comes down the pipe, they completely have to follow the instructions and guidelines that they're given in their elders' letters, or they're punished, they're shunned, they're kicked out. That's it. Just like the heads of any other family, the people make the mob. It's never really about the people. It's never about the people.
We're the only winners. The players don't stand a chance.
And the message comes down from the top. It's like in layers, from the head mob boss trickling all the way down to your basic rank and file. And everybody knows their place. You are who they say you are.
Here are your names. Mr. Brown, Mr. White, Mr. Blonde, Mr. Blue, Mr. Orange, and Mr. Pink.
Why can't we pick our own colors?
No way. I pick. You're Mr. Pink. Be thankful you're not Mr. Yellow.
Yeah, but Mr. Brown, that's a little too close to Mr. Shit.
Mr. Pink sounds like Mr. Pussy. How about if I'm Mr. Purple? I mean, that sounds good to me. I'll be Mr. Purple.
You're not Mr. Purple. Some guy on some other job is Mr. Purple. You're Mr. Pink.
Poof, you're a ministerial servant. Poof, you're an elder. Poof, didn't like what you did. You're going to lose some privileges. You're going to go down a layer. This is who you are. This is who you are. This is who you are. You're a baptized publisher. You're an unbaptized publisher. You're this, you're that. They basically run the whole show. You're going to do exactly what they tell you to do. Whether you want to be Mr. fucking Pink or not, you're going to be Mr. Pink. So the same designation is made for literature. That's how that's how you get your information. trickles down. They say, this is the book that you will follow. I don't care if you didn't like this book and you thought the last one was better. The last one is no good. This is your new book. We have a new prophecy. We're not going to call it a prophecy. We're going to call it new light. We never said that. You guys kind of blew that up yourselves. And that information comes down, and the people basically disseminate this information amongst themselves and go, yeah, the governing body never said that, or yes, this is a much better version. Yes, we should not look at this literature anymore. Get rid of it. Whatever it is that they're told.
This ain't a goddamn fucking city council meeting, you know. Now listen up, Mr. Pink. There's two ways you can go on this job. My way or the highway. Now what's it gonna be, Mr. Pink?
Jesus Christ, Joe, fucking forget about it. It's beneath me, you know. I'm Mr. Pink. Let's move on.
I'll move on when I feel like it.
So basically, yeah, the information comes down from the top. And some of the requests that they make are completely ridiculous.
From now on, I want you to put an equal amount of blueberries in each muffin. An equal amount of blueberries in each muffin.
You know how long that's going to take?
I don't care how long it takes. Put an equal amount in each muffin.
They're nonsense. So you can't befriend non-witnesses. You can't say God bless you. Forgot about that. I have never said God bless you to a person. So even back when I was out, but when somebody did sneeze, say if I was in the workplace, I would always jokingly say, I'd say God bless you, but I don't think your spirit just tried to fly out of your body or something like that. I'd say bless you, but I don't have the authority. And it wasn't until about 2 nights ago, my husband and I were talking, and I was preparing, actually, this video, and I was like, that's right, you can't say God bless you. I'd forgotten about that, and it was weird to me how somehow I still followed that, but I kind of made it like a joke when people would sneeze. I don't really think your spirit flew out of your nose. Ha ha ha. I don't know if this was a weird subconscious way 20 years ago that I managed to keep that practice, but feeling like I wasn't doing it because of the joke. I was trained to not say God bless you. It was just weird. And my husband was like, yeah, because he knows I don't say God bless you to people or bless you. I always say my one-liner instead. But I just thought it was really interesting that somehow my mind manipulated around me still following that rule. I just thought that was interesting. But yes, there is absolutely ridiculous rules. I know in the 80s, early 90s, we kind of was allowed to put like white streaks in our hair. But I know in the 80s that was a huge no-no. That was too worldly. You couldn't have wings that were too big. That was too worldly. You don't have 2-car doors. Did I say 2-car? 2-door cars. You don't have 2-door cars. I mean, there's a host of a bunch of rules and things, and I've done already a video of what Jehovah's Witnesses won't tell you, but I'm talking about the really, really, really tiny, ridiculous ones. Oh, you have to wear a slip. You have to wear a slip under your dress. I don't care if you're wearing burlap. For my mom anyways, you still have to wear a slip. Are you wearing a slip? Smurfs. My mom was so freaked out about Smurfs. I had only heard one story as a kid. Now that I've been on the internet, I've heard it a ton. The one we heard was about the little Smurf that got up in a crib. All Smurfs are possessed. This particular story, the Smurf had gotten up in the crib with like a 2-year-old and was running around the crib and then tried to kill the baby. So don't look at Smurfs, don't talk to Smurfs, don't befriend Smurfs. Smurfs are bad.
An equal amount of blueberries in each muffin.
The blueberry thing isn't looking so crazy now when you think about the other ridiculous rules that Jehovah's Witnesses actually put on to their followers in order to stay in their club. Let's talk about money. Clearly, the mafia is all about money. It's all about the Benjamins. But Jehovah's Witnesses aren't the same way, right? I mean, they're modest people. But what about the governing body? I mean, I know when I was a kid, my mom took a lot of pride in budgeting her contributions into her budget. And even more so for conventions, though they would donate all throughout the year, regularly or monthly, my mom did. And then even more so, you know, for different conventions that we were at. I don't think it's different than any other religions. They have tithing. The Bible talks about tithing, so I understand the basis for it. But when you consider that the Watchtower and Tract Society has a net worth of $1.5 or $1.6 billion, you kind of gotta wonder if they're not all about the Benjamins too.
And along with making us legit comes cash. Tons of it. I mean, what do you think we're doing out here in the middle of the desert? It's with all this money. This is the end result of all the bright lights.
I mean, it's all about money. It's a business. And that's fine. You want to have a business, run your business, but at least let the people who are investing their lives and their time and their money into your business, let them fully understand what it is that they're investing into.
It's all been arranged just for us to get your money.
And I used to love this, and I was told this as a child. One thing that separated us as Jehovah's Witnesses from other organizations is that we're not like the Jim and Tammy Faye Bakers of the world who are out there. Basically, the congregations are being robbed, their followers are being robbed for their money, and they're profiting from it. And we don't ask for money. You know, the governing body never asks for money, and that's changed. Now they're asking for people to up the amount that they're able to give.
And that's like selling people dreams for cash.
Even Charles Taze Russell had made a statement and was very proud of the fact that he and they weren't asking for money from their followers. And he said basically, when the money runs out, or when we get to a position that we have to start asking for financial support from our congregants, that's when you know we're not backed by God. Even as a child, it really did differentiate us from them. And now it looks like that's just down the toilet. If they need money, they're asking for it. And apparently they need money. $1.5 billion? I'm not buying it for a second.
They had so much fucking money in there, you could build a house out of stacks of $100 bills.
The Watchtower Bible and Tract Society are definitely banking on free labor. They bank on free labor. They bank on contributions from their members. And there was a story that I heard. Actually, I didn't hear. I heard. There was a video I watched with my ears because I was driving in my car. And I have spent the last day or two trying to find this video again. If you tell me whose video this is, let me know and I'll add a link to it. And it was an interview of an elderly couple who, I think they were special pioneers, and they had dedicated a great amount of their time, as many witnesses do, and their lives, spreading the word, traveling to different countries. And at one point, his wife got sick. And I really am nervous about getting any facts about it incorrect, but hopefully you get the gist of the story. But his wife got sick, and so they couldn't contribute to the ministry anymore. And so basically they're on their own. If you can't do for us, you're no good. But guess what? You're still gonna pay. You're still gonna pay. We still need your money.
Business bad? Fuck you, pay me. Oh, you had a fire? Fuck you, pay me. Place got hit by lightning, huh? Fuck you, pay me.
And that's what I think about when I think about this elderly couple and how quick the governing body deserted them and how quick they were on their own despite years of service and years of ministry. So you might say, okay, well, my congregation wasn't like that. In my congregation, if somebody was sick, my mom would make them a casserole or something. Not my mom. My mom wasn't big on cooking. You know, people would go, oh, let's go help so-and-so. You know, she broke her ankle, we're gonna go clean her house or help her pick up or do her laundry or whatever. And you know what, that happened in my congregation too. But I'm not talking about the congregation. I'm talking about the corporation and how it treats its people. If you're not of value, you're on your own.
It's gonna be okay.
Even Paulie, since he got out, I never see him. I never see anybody
It's
anymore.
only you and me. That's what happens when you go away. I've told you that. We're on our own. Forget everybody else.
Let's talk about what happens if you do break the rules. I mean, they certainly don't whack you, right? Right? Well, the first thing they're gonna do is they're gonna ask you to meet with them. That's gonna be the first step.
Meeting in the middle of the desert always made me nervous. It's a scary place. I knew about the holes in the desert, of course, and everywhere I looked, there could have been a hole.
So what is this meeting? Somebody might ask. Well, this is called a judicial committee, and basically if somebody reports on you for doing something you shouldn't, 3 elders are going to meet with you. They're going to hear your side of the story. There may or may not be a second witness to the deed you've done, but they're basically going to have a conversation with you. They're going to want to know if you're sorry for what you did, and basically they're going to use this information to pray to Jehovah, and then Jehovah is going to read your heart, and then he's going to send a message to them in the next room and let them know whether or not you are truly repentant for what you did. Oh, and it's scary because you know there's holes out in that desert, and you know one of them can have your name on it. You know what's down that alley. You know what's going to happen when you meet with them, especially if you're not particularly sorry, or maybe you're just scared. I don't know. But when they invite you for that meeting and you know what's down that alley, you have to remember, you don't have to meet with them.
Yeah, it's over there, right there.
Move the box over. Block the window. Yes, big boy.
No. Hey, go ahead. It's right in there.
No, Jimmy,
Right there.
I'm in a hurry. My mom's watching the
Right in the
kids. I gotta
store.
get home. I'll come back later.
You have the right to avoid meeting with the Judicial Committee. But if you do go, please remember, they are in complete control. They are going to decide where you sit, or they're going to decide the date, the time, where you sit. They're going to tell you you can't take notes. They are banking essentially on intimidation as a way for you to be more nervous, to feel unprepared. And basically, they know that your fear is going to let them steer the conversation.
And your ass ain't talking your way out of this shit.
No. I just want you to know how... I just want you to know how sorry we are that things got so fucked up with us and Mr. Wallace. We got into this thing with the best intentions, really. I never...
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration? I didn't mean to do that. Please, continue. You were saying something about best intentions? What's the matter? Oh, you were finished. Oh, well, allow me to retort.
And it's going to be humiliating.
I know I fucked up.
Fucked up. Yeah, you fucked up.
But I'm all right now. You know, I can be trusted now.
You treated me like a fucking jerk. Like I was never nothing to you.
Paulie, after what you said, I couldn't come to you. You know, I was ashamed. You know, I'm ashamed now. But I got nowhere else to go, Paulie. You're all I've got, and I really, really need your help.
Now I gotta turn my back on you.
And if they decide, these men with little to no education, and certainly no insight into the human condition, or even how to read people, I mean, let's be honest, they're taking instruction from a handful of dudes in New York, and they can't read that's BS, but they think they're going to read you. That alone should tell you that this meeting's not going to go well for you. It's just not.
No. Still alive. No. Fucking piece of shit. Die. Don't die. Look at me. Look at my fucking eyes. Die.
That's it. You're dead. You're dead to your family. You're dead to your friends. You're out. And the sad thing is, most Jehovah's Witnesses work with or for Jehovah's Witnesses. So like, if you have your own business, most of your clients are the Jehovah's Witnesses. But now that you're dead, to them, they can't do business with you. Once you have that meeting, and once they make that decision and they decide that you're disfellowshipped, you know, or you choose to disassociate yourself, it's the same thing. It's still not going to be that trunk scene in Goodfellas. You're done. You're not going to be making very much money if you've been dependent on that. You're certainly not going to have friendship, no fellowship, no uplifting. And that feeling that you have of being alone is what they call the removal of Jehovah's spirit. You've turned your back on him. And that feeling of depression is what it feels like to not have Jehovah's Spirit with you anymore. It's actually called depression. It's called anxiety. And the amount of mental health problems that these people tend to stir in their congregants is mind-blowing. And then some people might ask, well, you know, this must be really hard for them, you know, to have to make a decision to basically cut out a member, which might be somebody that they've known 20, 30 years. That it must be hard for them. The reality is, no, it's not.
It's not personal, Sonny. It's strictly business.
Now, it is possible to get back in, if that's really what you want. And most Jehovah's Witnesses who are disfellowshipped do go back. Sometimes it's a couple of times they get disfellowshipped. Sometimes I think they just give up. They just kind of resolve themselves to the fact that they're just going to die at the end, and it's that the rules and regulations are just too much for them to keep up with. But you can get back if you know, change your behaviors, mend your ways, maybe admit to something you may or may not have done. You can trick them. I know people that have tricked them to getting back in, which is really weird, because if the decision is coming from Jehovah, I'm not really sure how this human is tricking God into letting these elders make the decision that they can come back in. What's really odd, and I find so sad, is that there are people who are in, they know it's not the truth, and they want out, and they don't know how to get out, and they're scared to lose their families, or they don't have the financial ability to get out, or you know, maybe if it's somebody who's dependent on a partner, a husband or a wife who maybe is the pioneer in the family, and their spouse is employed, and now they want to leave. They're like, I don't have an education, or I haven't had a job in 20 years. And they're just scared. I think what they're mostly scared of, I think people can pick themselves up out of poverty very much easier than they can out of losing emotional bonds. I've been poor. We all have ups and downs. And so for me, that wasn't something that held me back. I wasn't too worried about that. What was harder was losing the relationships. And I think that's what keeps a lot of people in, more so than the ability to financially care for themselves. And even when you're trying to get out, it's a constant battle with your friends and your family, or if they think you're spiritually weak, they're going to really try to influence you more and to keep you in and to keep you spiritually strong and keep you from having doubts. And I can see people kind of out more so in taking that two steps forward, one step back, and it taking a very long time to get to that place.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
And when you do finally get out, you need to ground yourself in the belief and in the strength of knowing they can't control you anymore. Yes, they can take away your friends. They can take away your family. They'll take away your fellowship. You will feel completely alone. But that is where you need to surround yourself with people who are not Jehovah's Witnesses. And there are millions of wonderful, wonderful people out there that you can connect with. You really need to stand your ground, and you really need to stay strong, no matter what they throw at you.
This is one guy, and you can't take care of it? We shot him. We've blown him up. He just won't die.
If anybody else was being worldly with you, if anybody else was participating in what you were doing, it might be a group of you that guys, got together and you were drinking, or you decided to go to a couple of parties. Yeah, it'll take a couple of judicial committees, but they will eventually take you all out. Yeah, basically the elders, they will take no prisoners when it comes to keeping the congregation clean, and the corporation will come before the people. You're all dead.
You're nothing to me now. You're not a brother. You're not a friend. I don't want to know you or what you do.
And the worst part is, the absolute worst part is they use your faith against you, because they will do all of this in the name of Jehovah.
You read the Bible, Brett?
Yes.
Well, there's this passage I got memorized. Sort of fits this occasion. Ezekiel 25:17. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And I will strike down upon thee with great vengeance and furious anger those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. And you will know my name is the Lord when I lay my vengeance upon thee.
So everyone that you have known and loved, they will turn that love off like a switch. It will hurt and it will be heartbreaking and they will be cold about it. Grandparents will do it to grandchildren. Sons will do it to their mothers. The spiritually dead are just that. They're dead.
You think innocent people deserve to die? Tyrone? My Mary?
So my personal experience with this would be when I left, there was a period of time that, and my brother and I were just talking about it the other day. He was kind of worked up about it. In the fact that when they were kids, my parents basically had told them, at least my mom, that it's better to think that Cassie is dead. It will be easier for you that way. And my siblings ranged from, I'd say my youngest brother might have been 3 or 4, maybe 3. And the one brother that I'm specifically talking about, who we had been very, very close, he just struggled with the fact that he had to pretend I was dead, that he just didn't exist anymore. And they will do exactly as the governing body commands. You will be dead to them. They will kill you off themselves. Consider yourself spiritually whacked. So I do want to say this, the process of disfellowshipping, it goes all the way up. It's not exclusive to just the congregation. So I want to talk a little bit about a man, and I'm going to keep it really short because most people know who he is. If you don't, he was a dedicated member of Jehovah's Witnesses for 40 plus years. He was a writer for the organization, and he served at the world headquarters for 15 years. And he actually was a member of the governing body that I've been talking about. If you ever have a chance to read his book, Crisis of Conscience, it is amazing. And there's also there's a couple of YouTube videos out there, and I love hearing him speak. He has the most warm and endearing and yet intellectual thought process on how he presents the information. And so what happened to this man who dedicated everything to the Watchtower and Tract Society? What happened when he asked questions? When he had all of the publications at his fingertips and things started to not add up? I mean, he had the entire library, their entire history from the beginning, everything that they had published, and he started noticing inconsistencies. And when he noticed inconsistencies, he started pointing them out. He started asking questions. And when he started asking questions, it ended in one result. Like that, he was done. Was eventually shunned. Just like any rank and file person. So you can understand why people, whether they're pioneers, they're elders, or circuit overseers, Ethelites, and even a member of the governing body, would pretty much be terrified to ask those questions, to ask any questions. The governing body doesn't look at it as a means of cutting someone off. But then again, the mafia often doesn't acknowledge murder either.
That wasn't murder. It was progress.
So I think it's pretty safe to say at this point that there's some pretty good comparisons between the mafia or any other kind of gang life and being one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Both are clearly businesses, whether you're born into it, you're jumped into it later, how they keep you in, and how really, really shitty it is if you don't follow their rules to a T, or if you try to get out. So for those of you who stay, the thoughts in your head about your love for Jehovah and the brothers, it's basically as pretty natural as breathing. To even stop for a moment, it's uncomfortable. It's like holding your breath. Not listening to them, not getting spiritual food, it's like holding your breath, and you panic and you end up sucking in another healthy dose of what they have to offer. It feels like death, and it's terrifying. So you keep breathing. You breathe in everything that they surround you with. It feels better. It feels comforting. But hopefully you realize it is a false sense of comfort. You'll end up staying 30 years, 40, 70. You'll stay for what seems good, and you'll ignore any tinges of pain along the way. You'll stay for the people you love and for the fear of not knowing what's out there. And in the end, despite what the society has promised you, you'll look around and you'll realize everyone is gone. In the end, you will die alone. I'll see you next time.
I'm on the television.